Hello everybody, and welcome to Immaterial Minds. Have you ever wondered what it means to be wise? In today's world, there are many ways that we might try to characterize wisdom. Maybe we take a traditional view and attribute wisdom to spiritual leaders or to those who, for various reasons, separate themselves from society, indifferent to worldly temptation. Or perhaps we take a different view and associate wisdom in the modern world with the ability to accumulate wealth or to generate subscribers on social media and to become an internet guru. Or maybe, just maybe, with the recent rise in machine learning, we might think that one day, wisdom will not only be a human domain. In any case, for our subject today, the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, wisdom wasn't any of these things. Not exactly. Wisdom was a reflection of one of the oldest maxims of the ancient Greek world. It was a maxim that was inscribed for millennia on the walls of the sacred temple of Apollo, home to the famous Oracle at Delphi. The maxim was know thyself. This maxim, although in a more specific form, was the guiding principle of Socrates' life. It inspired him and eventually led to his execution. But why was it so important to Socrates? And is there anything it can teach us today? In the year 399 BC, in the ancient Greek city-state of Athens, Socrates, at the age of 70, and for the first time in his life, was brought to trial. He was charged with the crimes of corrupting the young, of denying the gods, and of believing in new spiritual things, which were not sanctioned by the city. As Socrates stood before the Athenian court, however, he knew that the official charges were not the main reasons for his trial. The main reason, he thought, was wisdom, but not just any kind of wisdom, a distinctly human wisdom. But what exactly did Socrates mean by that? The problem seems to have been that in his relentless pursuit of wisdom, he had shaped his reputation in a less than ideal way in the eyes of the Athenian public. Since Socrates was a young man, he'd walked the streets of Athens, questioning people, interrogating people, in order to try and understand the true extent of their wisdom. Often, these were very influential and very powerful people who claimed to be wise about many things, but time and time again, and usually in front of a crowd, Socrates showed that these people, these wise men, were not really very wise at all. So, in the process of his interrogations, Socrates made many enemies. For this reason, when Socrates began to defend himself at his trial, he knew that he had already been condemned in the court of public opinion. In fact, going back many years, many well-known Athenians, such as the playwright Aristophanes, had portrayed Socrates in a negative light, and Socrates knew that changing the way the public perceived him was not going to be easy. It was a matter, he said, of fighting with shadows. Socrates therefore decided that he must try and explain, to try and justify, his behaviour. Why did he insist on irritating the citizens of Athens, as the gadfly irritates the horse? It was, he said, because of a message he had received from the all-knowing Oracle at Delphi. Socrates explained that once upon a time, many years before his trial, a friend of his, a man named Chaerephon, had gone to visit the Oracle at Delphi. While at the Oracle, Chaerephon asked one important question: who was the wisest person of all? In response, the Oracle told Chaerephon that none was wiser than Socrates. So, off Chaerephon went back to Athens to tell Socrates the news. However, when Socrates heard what the Oracle had said, he was quick to question the result. Socrates didn't consider himself to be very wise. He didn't consider himself to really be wise at all. So he thought that the Oracle's message must be some kind of riddle. Nevertheless, since the Greeks believed that the Oracle spoke with the words of the truth-telling god Apollo, the riddle should not be ignored. Socrates therefore took it upon himself to solve the riddle. Either he would discover why he was wise, or perhaps he would be able to prove the Oracle wrong, and show that he wasn't really the wisest. Either way, this decision would dictate the rest of Socrates' life. In order to understand what the Oracle had meant, Socrates thought that he must first figure out what it really means to be wise. and to do that, he must question everyone. Everyone who claimed to have any wisdom at all should be examined. He spoke to men from all walks of life, to politicians, to poets, to playwrights, but after every conversation, Socrates was always disappointed. What he found was that these people always thought that they were much wiser than they really were, a trait perhaps that is still common today. Nevertheless, it was during these conversations that Socrates had a profound realization. As he spoke to one man, a man that Socrates described as appearing very wise to many people, and especially to himself, he realized that this wise man was unable to recognize the limits of his own knowledge. Socrates thus thought that he was beginning to understand what the oracle had meant. He said to himself, "I am wiser than this man. It is likely that neither of us knows anything worthwhile, but he thinks he knows something when he does not. Whereas when I do not know, neither do I think I know. So I am likely to be wiser than he to this small extent, that I do not think I know what I do not know." In other words, Socrates realized that he possessed a very important kind of self-knowledge. Or, in the words that are often attributed to Socrates, he realized that, "All I know is that I know nothing." For Socrates, this was at the heart of wisdom, and he came to believe that this is what the oracle had meant in calling him the wisest. Even so, Socrates never gave up his pursuit of wisdom. Apollo, through the oracle at Delphi, had shown him the path that his life must take, and he would not give it up for anything. It was because of this that Socrates had spent his life interrogating the citizens of Athens. It was not to show them up or to embarrass them. It was not from malice. It was from the noble pursuit of wisdom, inspired by the gods. To reflect for a moment on the meaning of this ancient Greek wisdom, we might say that what Socrates seems to have valued is a kind of human modesty, a personal recognition of our own limitations. As humans, we are limited beings, and it's only when we accept our limits that we leave room for improvement. There's no point in seeking wisdom if we are already wise. There's no point seeking knowledge if we already know. So it's always good to maintain a healthy dose of skepticism. Socrates himself was the idealization of this idea. Even though he was already wise, he was never dogmatic. He always accepted that there might be something that he had missed. That's why he called his wisdom a human wisdom. In the end, Socrates' defense was a failure, and after insisting to the jury that he should be rewarded for his services to Athens rather than punished, he was sentenced to death. He would later carry out this sentence himself by drinking hemlock. Be that as it may, when we look back at the trial of Socrates and his relentless pursuit of wisdom, we might wonder who today would still have Socrates executed, and who, instead, might be willing to undergo a thorough Socratic interrogation. Would any of us pass the test? If you enjoyed this quick reflection on ancient Greek wisdom, you might like to watch this video next on another notorious ancient Greek. And please remember to subscribe to Immaterial Minds.